What's a common mistake that salespeople often make and perhaps don't even realize?
People fail because they don't learn and they don't up their skill. So it's techniques. I mean, there's a lot of hidden techniques that sales has.
What tips would you have for someone to become a better closer?
Why people don't close is the fear of rejection.
So, having said that, do you believe happiness is a choice? Hello and welcome to Coffee Charge Conversations here at Real Global Productions. Today we are joined by Chevan Naidu, who is a sales coach, and we actually met each other in the sauna at gym, of all places. But he goes by the nickname Mr. Fantastic. Where did that nickname come from?
Thank you, Mike, for having me here today. And just to give you a little bit of insight on Mr. Fantastic. So I am a sales trainer and sales coach, which I've just sort of parked that in the back burner right now because I'm busy with being an entrepreneur. And at that stage, whenever somebody came out of my sales training program, the favorite word that came out was fantastic. Fantastic. So my CEO at that time called me Captain Fantastic. And because I don't support Man United, Captain Fantastic was one of the players, I think it was Robson, that they called Captain Fantastic. And I'm an avid Liverpool supporter. So I said, I'd rather be Mr. Fantastic. And we also found that when I did sales training with groups, they stayed longer, their results were higher. So at some point, I clearly got through and shifted the mindset of those students. So they were no longer people that couldn't make target, they were people that exceeded target. So that's how I became Mr. Fantastic. And I'm always in a jolly good mood.
And as a sales coach, obviously your job is to inspire the people who are going to be working on the ground. What's been the best way that you've led or inspired others?
Look, sharing my story and my journey is very important because I actually come out of a poor background and I understand the rules of poverty very well. And I know the limitations of poverty. In fact, if I look back at all of my cousins that I grew up with and family that I grew up with, they still have the poverty mindset. So I think for me, the inspiration to others is helping them to shift that mindset because I love working with people that come from disadvantaged backgrounds because I believe there's hope for everybody. I mean, if I can make it this far on my own journey and I'm not in competition with anybody else, for me, I'm living my best life and I would like them to be the best version of themselves.
What's a common mistake that salespeople often make and perhaps don't even realize?
Look, I think the common mistake that salespeople make is that they think they're salespeople. Okay, and I'll say why they think they're salespeople is selling is a skill and an art, and it needs to be practiced, drilled, rehearsed. Practiced, drilled, rehearsed. I mean, if you're a salesperson, you've got to do a role play by yourself. You've got to look at yourself in the mirror in the morning and say, this is my pitch. These are the objections. So it's all about planning, right? And a lot of people don't plan, they wing it. So when you're winging stuff, you're not anticipating objections that will come through. So it's basically you don't have training or you don't have skills. And with everything being available on the internet right now, you can do all of these courses and self-teach yourself. But people fail because they don't learn and they don't up their skill. So it's techniques. I mean, there's a lot of hidden techniques that sales has that salespeople don't use. So again, you think you're a salesperson, but are you?
So when you're doing a sale, I was in sales for a little period of my life. It was actually quite a short period, 4 months, and I was doing cold calling and door-to-door sales, and I was kind of taught to ignore the customer in a way so that I could get my point across, which I don't think was necessarily the right way to go about things. But now that I've spoken to a few more people about sales, I've heard that listening is quite a core ingredient of being a good salesperson. Would you agree?
Absolutely. It is the fundamental principle of selling because that's where the magic happens. So, two things, right? Number one is you listen to what they want, you listen to what they need, and you also listen to what they're not saying. Because we speak in code, right? So, you know, I'm been with my wife for 23 years, right? When she says one thing, she means something else, right? And we as men, we think differently, right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So we're like, why don't you just get to the point? But by listening, you actually hear, you listen for buying signals. So what is a buying signal? A buying signal is something where they would say things that will elude you to think, okay, cool, I'm actually interested or not. Because remember, influence happens in a moment, right? That decision is made. People buy on emotions and they justify with logic. Anything that you buy. I mean, that beautiful refinery t-shirt that you're wearing there, when you tried it on, you was like, that will look good on me. So looking good is an emotion, correct?
Yes.
Whatever you do is emotion. When you buy something to eat, it's on emotions. We're talking about coffee beans, it's an emotion, it's that feeling. So everything that we do in life is based on feeling. So when you listen, you can listen to the tone. So let me unpack this for you, right? There's tone. Tone is so important. I could say 55% of what we say comes out from our body. 38% of what we say comes out from the tone, and 7% are your actual words. So if I sat here and said, today is a great day, or if I woke up and I said, today is a great day, can you hear the difference? Or if I said, listen to my words, right? I'm such a great salesperson, no tone. I am such a great salesperson. So the tonality, so the inflection of the voice. So you got to listen to these little notes that come out. Now, it's not rocket science, so it's not a special skill. It's about understanding what to listen for. So, absolutely. And the biggest problem salespeople make is they don't know when to shut up. So, you talk and you listen. You talk and you listen. When you listen, you take that information and you use it for the client, not against them. I mean, we've known aggressive salespeople to say that you must use this information against the client and make them feel so bad that they have to buy your product.
Almost to confuse them in a sense.
Absolutely. I mean, we live in a different world today. I mean, your generation is looking for is looking for quality of life. My generation is looking for standard of living. So we have different ones. You got different audiences. You need to know how to connect to those audiences. I mean, I've been highly successful in business recently only because I know how to talk to people and I know how to listen. And when you digest that information, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Habit number 5 from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. It is the greatest thing that you could ever do is seek first to understand that person, then to be understood. What happens is when you try to make your point and not listen to their point, people put up a wall, they put up a guard, and your sale is lost. Selling and the definition of selling is taking people on their journey to your destination.
Wow.
So you let them think it's theirs, but you're bringing them to you because ultimately that's what you want to get. You need the sale. But there's a lot of stuff that comes in between that. Number one is make sure you're making the right decision. Is this good for the customer? Because if you believe your product is good for the customer, and you believe it wholeheartedly. I mean, Tom Hopkins, in How to Master the Art of Selling, talks about his friend that and him were selling pots. And for some reason, they were selling pots in the 50s, right? And he was cleaning it, Tom Hopkins, right? And he writes the How to Master the Art of Selling. And he said he went to his friend's home and he opened the cupboard and there were no pots there that they were selling. And he said to his friend, well, that's your problem. If you can't buy it, how do you expect somebody else to buy it?
Yeah. I think people can almost see straight through that in a way.
Nowadays, it's easier to see straight through that, yes.
Why do you think people don't get sold on facts but emotion?
Look, we live in a world where everything is based on emotions, right? Everything is about feeling, everything is about energy. So you also get left brain people and you get right brain people, right? And what we call the Ben Franklin clause, which I learned from Tony Robbins, right? Where people would write down the pros and write down the cons of something. So that's definitely more logical decision. But again, it's biased to emotions. It's only a pro or a con because everyone's experience of something is different. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because how you would experience something and how I would experience something is two different things.
How so you might get, I mean, I often get sales calls and stuff like that. And while I did sales, I also had times where people would say, "Are you trying to sell me something?" How do you answer that question, and how do you build trust with your client or the person you're in a negotiation with?
So that's a very common objection, right? Now, what we did was when somebody says, "Am I trying to sell you something?" That's generally upfront, right? It's before you've done your sales pitch, right? So they haven't listened to you. So I would generally I'd unpack it and say, "Mike, you know what? I love what you're saying that I'm trying to sell you something, but all I'm trying to do is tell you a little bit more about our product." And Mike, you're an educated person, correct?
I hope so.
Well, I believe you're an educated person. That's why I'm talking to you. And all you need to do is make an educated decision whether this product is for you or not. Do you think you can allow me a few minutes for me to just tell you about what I'm doing? So that's what we call objection handling, right? So that's what we call early objections because it's difficult to try and close someone into selling it, or not saying just give me a few minutes of your time. You got to have a conversation with somebody because the biggest problem that telemarketers make today is they start the conversation with "Hello, how are you?" Right? Firstly, it's Truecaller blocks your ID. Then it's a number you don't know, and somebody says "Hello, how are you?" and you're like, straight away, it's what I call the first 30 seconds to fame or 30 seconds to shame. So straight away, there's a guard. Who's this? Why? But if I said,
Mm.
"Hey, Mike, it's Chev here, and I'm calling you from XYZ, and the reason for my call today," then I've told you who I am, where I'm from, and why I'm calling. What I call who, where, and why, WWW. If a salesperson could say who, where, and why, it eases everybody. Everybody likes to be calm. I mean, I watch my wife shame when there's a number she doesn't know, she just clicks the red icon on the on the phone. She just cuts the call, and it's not easy. I mean, it's a profession, right? And people have to respect it. And but if you don't do it well, nobody's going to respect you.
So you mentioned closing. I think closing is important not only in business or in the sales industry, but just in life and negotiations. What tips would you have for someone to become a better closer?
So for someone to become a better closer is my favorite acronym. It's ABC, always be closing. Wherever you go, whatever you do, always be closing. Be in a constant state of closing. Even if you're talking to your missus or you're talking to your friends, you're subconsciously trying to convince them on something. So that's you closing, right? So I close that person. Or in your mind, you know what? I just closed Mike on doing this, or I closed Chris on doing this. So you understand. So it's you have to be in a constant state of closing. But closing is not being. You see why people don't close is the fear of rejection, because it's that point when you get rejection. Now people have a subconscious fear of rejection. Nobody likes rejection, right? But if you know that every no is one step closer to a yes, it's about your mindset. It's about your conditioning. So if you got a no today, okay, cool, no problem. Every no is one step closer to a yes. Every no is one step closer to a yes. So that's the mindset. It comes down to your mindset.
And did you have a mentor growing up at all?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've had many mentors, and look, I think the woman that opened my mind was my trainer. And look, I'll make mention of her name. Her name was Claire, and Claire opened my mind, and she mentored me into becoming the great trainer that I used to be. when I was in corporate, and I think I still am. I just don't mind putting a suit back on and getting onto the stage because I feed off people's energy. And, you know, Tony Robbins for me was a great mentor. I got to listen to Tony Robbins on CD. My late father-in-law was quite ill, and he was listening. He was on his way out, right? And he was listening to Tony Robbins, and I was like, "Who's this guy?" He said, he called me to his bed, and he whispered in my ear, and he said, "Listen to this guy; he'll change your life." And I did that exactly same thing. So I started with personal power. Um, I love the likes of Zig Ziglar, who has some great closing techniques. You can listen to their videos. They're all old school guys. And when you say mentors, it doesn't have to be somebody that I know, personally to be a mentor. Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, is about the best book you could ever read if you are in sales, because there's 13 principles in Think and Grow Rich. And if you practice those 13 principles, you'll have an abundance of income.
So you mentioned Tony Robbins, and you actually gave me a few audiobooks before we recorded today's episode, just so I could get a little bit of an insight into sales. And one of the quotes that I quite like from Tony Robbins is, "An undisturbed prospect will not buy."
Oh, yes. Oh, you love that. Yeah, you got to undisturb it, eh? An undisturbed prospect will not buy. You got to hurt them and heal them. That is the next part, right? Because you got to show them, and he's so right. You got to paint a bad picture of if you don't have this product, and you paint a good picture if you do have this product. So let's give me an example. Let's give me any product, and I'll do a quick pitch for you.
Okay, let's go with cleaning materials.
So cleaning materials, right? Now there's different types of cleaning materials. So let's say we're selling premier cleaning material, right? The most expensive one. Let's go, you corporate company, I came to you and my product is double the price of what you're currently paying, right? So that's a good one to address, because how do you sell something like that? There's a good saying. So if I came to you and I said, Mike, and you gave me the objection, and I said, Mike, it's too expensive. Mike, I do understand it's too expensive, but I want you to listen to this very carefully. In Afrikaans, we have a saying, it says, goedkoop is duurkoop. It means if you think you're saving money, it's going to cost you more in the end. Now, I want to ask you a question. You have a beautiful business here. Let's say, for example, if the dishwasher liquid that you're using right now leaves some stains on your cup, right? And for a little bit more, and a guest sees that, and with ours, you guaranteed it'll be clean. What would the impact of that dirty cup have on your business?
Well, I feel like it would damage the
reputation.
of,
Am I right?
Yeah.
So by you willing to invest in our product, you're willing to invest in your business, correct? So when I ask you whether you want to buy this or not, that's a choice you have to make. Because from what I see is beauty, and I see first class all the way. Mike, you're a first class business. This is a first class product. We are a match for each other, right?
See, there you touched on the emotional side. I felt like you understood me.
Yes. And this is what we got to do. We got to talk to people's emotions. So, look, I've mastered this art because I know I'm a quick thinker. You have to be a quick thinker, because when someone throws an objection, you have to come back with a rebuttal. And we've got a rebuttal process, right? So what I use is an objection handling process. There's 5 steps to the objection handling process. So mentally, I've already calculated my next move. It's like chess.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I think indifference is the place, based on that quote, indifference is a place that you don't want to be at, because you'd rather have someone love you, or some people love you and some people hate you. But if people feel indifferent about you, there's no ways they're going to buy what you're selling.
Absolutely. You know what? There's a book by Og Mandino. It's called The Greatest Salesman in the World. In fact, I've got that tattoo here that says, I will persist until I succeed, right? And in the second scroll, he talks about love, right? I don't think, for my personal experience as a salesperson, if you do everything with love, even if they reject you, he says, you may reject my words, you may reject my apparel, my bargains may cause you suspicion, but my undying love for you as my customer will never be rejected. So today you may say no to me, but tomorrow, if I did a great job, and even if you said no, I'm going to understand and I'm going to move on. And you're going to refer me to somebody else because maybe we weren't a match for each other.
What do you do in the case where you perhaps feel like your product isn't suited towards that client?
You see, this is where people get stuck. And I think exploring a conversation, and if my product's not suited to the client, I'd rather tell the client, listen, this is not for you. For example, I mean, we run a spare parts business, and how we got into the spare parts business is that I actually own a digital business, Lireco Digital, where we build e-commerce websites, and I built a website sort of like an auto trader for scrapyards, so they can, because it's an unlooked after market, so they can advertise their scrap cars, and people could ask for parts, and we would sell the leads to them. And I thought, there's over 1,000 scrapyards. If I got 200 scrapyards to pay me 1,000 rand a month, this business would bring me 200K per month. It's okay. I've had more money than that in the past, but right now I would be happy with that. And because I'm coming from losing everything, right, Mike? And from having 6 cars to an Uber, right? So I had to build myself up all over again. And again, I had to do it with love, because love is the only weapon that I have. I love the rain, for it cleanses my spirit. I love the sun, for it dries my bones. I love the darkness, for it shows me the stars. I love the light, for it shows me the way. Love is the only weapon that I have. And not to transgress, and let's get back to your question. You have got to put yourself in a situation where you're operating from a point of love. And you say to the client, this is not for you. So we get all of these leads, and customer says, well, how can I trust you? I've been scammed before. And I say to them, listen, we are now launching the first used parts platform. My app is ready. It will be available on the Play Store soon. Apple has their restrictions. We're still waiting for Apple. And I said, we're launching our app. And even before that, and I said, listen, I can't convince you to trust me, unfortunately. And if you want us to help you, this is how we can help you. And if you don't trust us, it's fine. We lose about 80% of our general leads that come in because of mistrust. And we have to move on. I don't get emotional about it because I understand where they are. We live in South Africa. People are getting scammed for car parts and marketplace every single day. So I can't, whatever I say will never build your trust. I can only tell you what I know and share that information with you, and then it becomes a customer's decision. And funny enough, from the 20%, we've got some beautiful customers, amazing customers. So, this is the gamble of life.
Do you feel like if people like you, they more, they have a better chance of buying what you're selling?
Wow. I want to tell you something now, and I want you to remember this for the rest of your life. People don't buy products, they buy people. People don't buy products, you buy people. Because if you walked into a car dealership and you were walking straight towards the new Golf 8.5 GTI, which I went into VW the other day to pick up some parts, and I looked at that car, and the salesperson looked at me, and he could see I was Indian, and it's a GTI, and he sort of almost came to me, and I just started walking quickly. And I found it quite funny, right? But he smiled. It was a pleasant experience. People buy people, they don't buy products. They never, because you can buy the GTI in any other shop. You're going to buy Mike, right? If people will never, it depends on you. So for your theory, it's 100%. They don't buy products, they buy people.
So when we met, it was quite synchronous in a way, and quite random as well. I mean, we both go to the same gym. We didn't know that. Went for a sauna afterwards. I was told about the sauna from another guest actually that I had on the podcast, and he said, "You won't believe when you go into a sauna how authentic those conversations are and the people that you'll meet." And I thought, that's a bit strange. Like I'd never really thought of that. But I also wanted to do saunas anyways for my own. And I met you in the sauna, and you don't have that screen to hide behind. You know, you don't have to chat the whole time, but you started talking about your life and what you had gone through, and it was so synchronous in a way because you started speaking about mental health, mindset, and your whole perspective on life. And people aren't naturally inclined to do that, especially when we're sitting behind our phones. Do you believe everything happens for a reason?
Absolutely. Everything is synchronicity. You know, one decision, cause and effect, right? Everything is cause and effect. It has a ripple. So as you said, one guest said to you that you should try the sauna, and how random is that? It's not random. It's what we call synchronicity, right? Because you can make a decision today and you can see the result of it in 10 years' time. That's how life is. So, absolutely, I believe in synchronicity. I believe in energy. I believe that I'm also in a space now where I attract the right energy. Um, at 47 years old, your experience is the best teacher, right? Um, I've been blessed enough to travel a lot. I've been 20 times to China, right? And China for me was an amazing experience because you meet people from all over the world that come to. I spent a lot of time in Guangzhou and Shenzhen, and I've got some great Chinese friends. Up till now, we share pictures of our kids, and Ellen and I, we talk to each other. We did a little bit of business together at one point. I was doing fitness watches and tracking what kids tracking watches, whatever, but we're still friends. And it's such amazing. There's beauty. You see, I believe, and I've seen this on a few videos online as well, but it's also my belief. I believe there's a little bit of God in everybody, right? And if you speak to that person or that portion of that person that's God, you'll see the magic, you'll see the beauty. And I see good in everybody, no matter how angry they are. And I don't win all the time, right? At certain times, you don't win because I'm always friendly to the staff at KFC, which I shouldn't be doing all the time. But I'm friendly at the staff at Chicken Licken, which I shouldn't be doing all the time. I'm friendly to the car guards. The car guard here at Cresta Mall, the one that sits on the other side, the entrance where the hardware is, where the builders is. I mean, he's from Ladysmith. He has two kids. One is 8, one is 6. And, I took 10 minutes to have a conversation with him. Beautiful guy. And he told me how he lives here in Joburg alone. And, so for me, there's beauty everywhere. So for us, meeting is not random.
And it's wild how that small little conversation can make someone's day or week or month or whatever without you even
Oh,
realizing.
yeah, absolutely. And, going back to what you said, mental health issues, people are struggling and they need to realize they're not alone. They need to realize that, hey, listen, it's okay because since COVID, the world has changed, right? All right. So there's something that I really want to share with everybody, and it's a good technique. It's a couple of techniques. So I've got my own little book that I'm busy with, and I haven't finished it because I've been procrastinating and busy with business. But it's a coaching book. And the first technique that you need to do is the gratitude list. So be grateful for what you have. A lot of people are suffering with mental health issues because they are actually miserable and they are bitter. My suggestion is be better for what you have than bitter for what you don't have. If you start your morning, the first thing that I do is when I wake up in the morning, I say, thank you, God, for this life that you've given me today. I actually saw it in Uncut Gems, where the Jewish guys do it, right? In the Jewish community, the first thing they do is they thank God for the life force. And what we call in Hinduism, prana. Prana is your life force, right? And people's life force is actually stuck these days. And one of the next thing that you got to do is thank God for that. And then thank God for everything that you have. You have eyes, thank God. Do a gratitude list. I do a gratitude list every morning, 20 things. And at some points, I even thank God for my kneecaps because there are people without kneecaps. I thank God for my fingernails. Thank God for my eyes. I thank God for my wife, my kid. And I'm so thankful. I live in an eternal gratitude state. And when you are eternally grateful, even in the Bible, it says, those that had more shall be given, and those that had not, even the little that they have shall be taken away. Those that Have gratitude, more shall be given. When you have gratitude, you'll see abundance comes to you. People are stuck. But start with the gratitude list. It's so simple. Write it down in the morning and read that same list in the evening before you go to bed. Because remember, you're programming your subconscious mind when you go to bed. So the last thing that you should do is now, somebody was saying they're newly married, right? And the last thing that you should do is maybe say thank you. Now I'm whole. I'm complete. And you wake up in the morning and it's different because I'm married for almost 20 years, right? And it's a journey and it's amazing. And the first thing I do when I wake up is I look at this beautiful woman next to me and I go, thank you, God. And I'm grateful because she stuck through me through my hardest times and my most difficult times. You see people. So the biggest thing is be grateful. That can combat your mental health issues. And people are lost. People don't know where they are. But you need to start taking control of your life. And the gratitude list is the first thing. Second thing is meditation. Quieten your mind for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You don't want to go into 20, 30 minutes of meditation. It's a bit deep, but calm the mind. Once you meditate, I go out into the grass in the morning. I put my feet onto the ground because the earth has got energy. I love the energy. I put my toes in between the sand and it feels so good. It's about feeling good because when you're feeling good, you're feeling God. Now, look for the small things in life. People are chasing the big things. One of the guys that comes to the gym, he said to me, we're living large, but I've been trying to unclutter my life. So we got rid of the big cars and getting rid of the big expenses and all of these things because, you can see that even wealthy people are now buying Chinese vehicles in South Africa because for the same amount that you're going to spend on a luxury German brand, you're going to spend half and get all the bells and whistles. So that's why people have had a shift in mindset, right? Because those things are not important anymore. Why are we chasing things? We should be chasing moments, right? So people need to stop chasing things. Forget about it. Chase moments because be grateful for what you have. There's many other people that don't have what you have. If you look at poverty, if you look at poor people, you must go and do charity work at a charity home because it'll make you grateful for what you have. It's nice to talk about it, but it's better to do it.
Did you ever have a stage in your life where you perhaps weren't thinking positively
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you had a bit of a mindset shift?
Oh, absolutely. So coming out of my big loss where I had lost everything, I blamed other people, but I made those decisions. At some point there was a lot of alcohol and substances. I had a nightclub, right? So I was a big party animal. I used to be known as the guy's guy. I've never, uh, look, other women is not my thing. I come from a single parent home, and my wife also come from a single parent home. So all we wanted to do was give our kid, a good home. But I was arrogant because money makes you arrogant, and I was blinded. They say young money, cash money. We don't know how to handle money. We think I was at a point where it was all about name brands and shopping in Santon and wearing all expensive stuff. Now people are shopping in Paris and whatever. But listen, whether you sit in the front of the plane or the back of the plane, it goes to the same place. It's about you enjoying your journey. And you meet some humble, wealthy, humble people. So I was in a negative space and I blamed the world. And then when I let go and I said, okay, right, Chev, it's your fault. Mr. Fantastic, eh? It's your fault. You've made these choices. It's time for you to put that aside and move on. And I became grateful. I have a Nissan Navara that has been through me through my darkest times. Coming from having an ML63, M3, and nice expensive cars, and I had a whole fleet of expensive cars, to taking an Uber, right? And even now, though I've got a newer Bucky, I still look at the Navara, I keep it there at home, and I'm like, thank you.
So, having said that, do you believe happiness is a choice?
Oh, wow. I'm smiling now because you're so synchronized in the way. So I've got a saying: there is no way to happiness, Happiness is the way, right? Happiness is not a destination, it's a choice. Wow, that is so amazing. You just spot on, because that's my belief. I believe that we have a choice to be happy. We don't have to get something to be happy. We can choose to be happy. So you live from moment to moment, right? So every moment is going to be different. But remember, you also got to navigate the other emotions. So happiness is about understanding that you're going to be sad as well, because sadness is part of life. Grief is part of life. Joy is part of life. Loss is part of life. So every emotion is part of life. People don't understand that. They only want to be happy. They don't want problems. Problems are a sign of life. Norman Vincent Peale, at 93 years old, said problems are a sign of life. Norman Vincent Peale writes a book called The Power of Positive Thinking, right? And a must read. The Power of Positive Thinking. Very Christian-based book, but unlike any religion, has got something good to teach you, right? When you stop judging, right? I mean, Matthew chapter 7, verse 2 says, do not judge, for you're not like to be judged. For the same measure that you have judged with, you will be judged upon. I'm a Hindu. I read the Bible. So, is there anything wrong with that? No, but people have a closed mindset. You have to have an open mindset. Everyone's an individual. Everyone has something to teach you. So, yeah.
How can we ensure that our thoughts are more positive throughout the day?
Firstly, you could slap yourself when you're being negative. No, I'm just kidding. So what I do is subconscious reprogramming. So we've got a conscious mind, which is your mouth, and the subconscious mind, which is your actions. So when you are pressured, right? If you squeeze an orange, you get out orange juice, correct? But if somebody squeezes you and out comes anger, animosity, hatred, violence, then what's truly inside of you? So you got to fix what's inside of you. So I do subconscious reprogramming. So I'm very, very, very aware. Your awareness of the words that come out, your self-talk. So in the book, The Four Agreements, by Don Miguel Ruiz, the rule number 1 is be impeccable with the word. Only say what you mean, especially when you talk to yourself. You often find yourself saying, oh, I'm so stupid. Well, then you are. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Well, then you are. Because whatever comes out of your mouth is becoming your reality. So if you keep telling yourself you're stupid, like for example, we all lose it in traffic, right? And I often remind my wife, because my wife's a lawyer, she's feisty, she's a Taurus, right? And she's Indian. So it's not easy, right? But I love her to bits, but she's like very feisty. And I always say to her, the only person that hears you screaming at the other driver is yourself. So if you call them an idiot, they don't hear it, but you hear it. But we're all guilty of it. Even I get angry. And there she goes, oh, she's like, oh, clearly that meditation doesn't work for you. So I said to her, my reply was, well, do you want me to stop? And she just looks at me, because I've got a smart mouth on myself, right? But you got to do the self-maintenance. I listen to affirmations the whole day. If I'm in the car, even at the gym, I don't listen to music at the gym. I've got this one abundance affirmation, right? And I listen to that every single day. I'm in the car. It's about attracting, right? It says, you are wealthy. You have abundance. You are born rich. You attract abundance. So I don't chase money anymore. It follows me. It's drawn to me. Wow. I'm never chasing a target. At the beginning of this month, I wrote down my target, right? Which was extremely unheard of. And we hit 95% of that target. And you get two types of people who say, but you didn't hit 100%. And then you get the other person that says, at least you hit 95%. So you get the negative people that will say you didn't hit your target. Great. Well, good for you. But for me, I doubled what I did the previous month. You know what I mean? So and writing it down is committing to it, right? So writing it down, whether you write it on your phone and write it in your book. Book is nice. Write it in your book. Read those things. Commit to it. So it's about subconscious reprogramming and everything that I'm so conscious of the people that I speak to. Don't contaminate my energy. I don't want to speak to people that contaminate my energy. Don't come here with your negativity. You can F right off. I don't want negativity. We got no time to tolerate negativity. I had a saying in sales training. I would say no to negativity. Say no to negativity. And that's how I would suggest people can become more positive.
And two people can look at the same situation or have the same experience,
Yeah.
but it'll be so different for them
Yes.
internally. That almost reminds me of a Dr. Wayne Dyer quote, which I'm sure you will know, is
When you change the way you look at things,
yes,
the things you look at change.
if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
We're very synchronized, right? That's one of my favorite. In fact, my friend, he became auto dealers, Ibrahim, right? We trained his dealership when 12 years ago, and we had that written on the wall. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. He went from selling 20 cars to now selling 300 cars per month, right? Absolutely amazing guy. And what a journey for him, right? And we're so synchronized. I mean, I'm one of his top 5, right? I mean, this guy's he's doing phenomenally well, but humble as ever, right? And you're so right. When you change, but now let me explain. I don't know if you know about how this whole thing works. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So Deepak Chopra talks about the physical energy and the study of atoms, right? Your observation of that changes the nature of that, the energy of that thing. For example, if I looked at the rose, it would change when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So your energy changes it. I know it's getting a bit deeper now, but Deepak Chopra's deep like that because he's talking about quantum physics now, right? So you know what quantum physics is, right? So let's try this, right? If you guys want to join us as well, you can join us, right? Put your hands in front of you like this, right? And just let's do this. Just do this.
Okay, so for people listening, we're putting our hands in front of us.
Yeah.
At a sideways angle, almost like a clap.
Like a clap, but
and
not touching.
We're bringing our hands closer together.
And can you feel that?
There's almost like
an energy that's pushing and pulling, right? Which means everything is energy, right? So when you are in a low state of energy, it takes you longer to feel that. So it's a good test to test your aura, right? Am I vibrating in a low energy or high energy? That's a high energy because we felt it, because there's high energy right now, because this discussion. So if you took water, right, and you wrote positive words on it, and you wrote negative words on another bottle, come back in a week and see what happens to the ones that you wrote negative words with. So your negative words will destroy things. I mean, you know what's kinesiology, right? Where the study of energy. So if I took something and I said good words to it, it would blossom. It's like you talking to the plants. Go to a plant and say negative words to a plant, it will die. So it's as simple as that. So imagine if that energy that you're sending out, remember, it's also coming in. So when you say bad things, you get hypochondriacs, people that are always sick, right? I mean, in my medicine cupboard, I've got my lion's mane mushroom from, I don't know if I can make mention of the one that I use. Can I?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I use Dr. Marty's mushrooms. Dr. Martin Kruger out in Edenvale, amazing guy, amazing energy. You must check this guy. He's like, lovely energy. I love the energy. He's like floating, right? Why fit in when you can stand out? And I use that, and I use omega-3. That's it. In the morning, I start my morning with half a teaspoon of turmeric, cayenne pepper, and ginger powder. Squeeze a little bit of lemon in it. Put a little bit of olive oil and some Himalayan salt. Morning fix. I never get sick. I'm in always good energy. I'm 47 years old. I can outwork most people half my age.
How has that changed your mindset?
How is
like the lion's mane mushroom?
Oh, I mean, I suffer with self-diagnosed ADHD, right? As my wife says, self-diagnosed, because in our days we were called hyperactive and naughty. Right?
Yes.
In your days, there's Ritalin and there's Concerta and all of these pharmaceutical things. Listen, I don't have a problem with pharmaceuticals, not for me, right? Sure. I'm a believer in natural healing. I believe that when God made Adam and Eve, he didn't make Dr. Patel on the other side. Like, how are you? Didn't make him, right? So the natural pharmacy is inside. So healing takes place from inside. So the lion's mane has helped me to focus. Before, I used to be all over the place. Now I can handle 5 things, 6 things at one time, even 10 things at one time. And when the problems come, and they do come, I'm calm, I'm relaxed. Remember, we work in a very dynamic industry, in the automotive industry. Sometimes you supply a part, it's wrong. You spent your money now. You're not going to get a refund because we work in an industry of thugs. They take your money and that's, hey, listen, you bought the part. The CPA doesn't work here. Take your CPA and get the hell out of here. You can't go there and say, but do you know about the Consumer Protection Act? No, we work with scrapyards. You understand? So I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. We'll take a credit. And then it happened to me yesterday, right? I lost an invoice and I spoke to the owner and I was losing my mind because I couldn't find the invoice because I've been working so hard. Took my lion's mane and I was like, okay, cool. Listen, let's do this. In the same day that he gave me the credit, I bought another part. So I got my money back. So I fixed my problem. Other people be pining about, oh my word, I lost this. No, listen, this too shall pass. Whatever you're going through, this too shall pass. So the lion's mane for me helps me to focus.
In ADHD, I think I'm also self-diagnosed with ADHD, and I've found that my mind can just jump onto things very easily, but I used to see it as I'm actually quite newly self-diagnosed, but when I first started hearing about the signs of ADHD and all of that, I was like, that sounds familiar. I do that. I do that. And I used to see it as such a bad thing. But now, if I channel that energy in the right way, it actually helped. Like, I don't forget the important things because my mind's so active. But sometimes I can go into the worrying stage where I'm not being as present as I want to be, and I'm too busy focusing on the future and what could happen. Did you ever find that you battled with that?
Yeah, absolutely. But recently I realized something, right? And listen to this carefully. Why worry about the things that are not in your control? Because if they're not in your control, why worry? Why worry about the things that are in your control? Because if you truly are in control, then why worry? Which means you're not in control. So worry never changes anything. And that story about worry is the worst place because the manifestation of sickness and disease and cancer and all of these things come from stress, right? The highest cause of cancer is stress. You understand? People stress and the mind and it manifests itself into the body. I mean, you don't see a chicken that's got stress. You don't see a cow that has got stress, right? You don't see a dog that is, I mean, dogs do get cancer, but I'm not saying anything bad about anybody else, but maybe because the owner's so like that, the dog becomes like that. You understand?
Yeah.
So if you have a happy owner, you have a happy dog. You have a grumpy owner, you have a grumpy dog because you create your environment. So animals don't get sick with all of these things because they don't manage they don't live on emotions like we do because we live in the past or we live in the present. Sorry, we live in the past or the future. We're playing a movie of something that already happened, can't change that, or we're playing a movie of something that hasn't happened.
Could happen.
You know how it could happen? By you playing the movie in your mind, you creating that reality. So what we think about, we bring about. What we think about, we bring about.
So how do we stop ourselves from thinking too far ahead?
We can't. We have to control it. I wouldn't say stop. We can control it, right? And how? Is becoming present. So I've got an affirmation that I do when I'm being negative, and all I do is, as soon as that happens, I say the universe is working in my favor. The universe is working in my favor. The universe is working in my favor. I feel absolutely fantastic. I feel absolutely fantastic. I feel absolutely fantastic. Within 2 minutes, I'm back. But you have to be conscious. I remember a long time ago, I used to struggle. I did the Mind Power course with Robin Banks. Changed my life completely. I was fortunate enough to meet John Keogh, right? So with doing that Mind Power, there's techniques that you use. So you bring yourself back.
And how do you bring yourself back to the present when you find your mind drifting off?
So these days it doesn't happen very often, but I listen to that the thing on repeat the whole day. Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, I listen to that. Friday at 2 o'clock, I listen to Whitney Houston. Because I only listen to music because it's important what you feed yourself, right?
Yes.
Listen, I love rap music. I love R&B, hip hop. I love Biggie. I love Tupac.
Yeah.
There's such great words that come out of it. Then when you start becoming conscious, you're like, it's a bit negative.
Sometimes you get a bit angry, or yeah, you
Yes.
get angry with your situation or life, and yeah, you
And
start.
you're feeding yourself that, right? You're feeding yourself. You say, no, listen, I'm a very positive person. And then you're listening to hardcore music about negative stuff. I haven't even got time for music anymore because I listen to love music, older music. I listen to love songs. I love Brian McKnight and I love Luther Vandross and I love all of this here because it makes me feel loved. One of my favorite songs is The Best Things in Life Are for Free because the best things in life are for free. You, the moments that you remember didn't cost you money.
In closing, and I wish we could chat forever, but we have quite a few, I'd say 24 to 30-year-olds that listen to the show. And at the age of 47, if you had to speak to yourself maybe at the age of 25 or so, what would you say to yourself?
I would probably say number one is giving up alcohol because I think that really messes with your emotions because people are lost in a world where you need a substance to feel better, right? So be grateful for what you have right now. 24-year-olds to 30-year-olds, it's sad because they've been protected. Parents have protected them. I mean, when I was 24, I was living on my own, bought my first Subaru, went racing with my friends. I left home when I was 18. It's a different world now. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. Make mistakes. When you make mistakes, you're trying. The only people that don't make mistakes are the ones that don't try. So to that audience, I would say, go out there, put yourself out there, fail. I am failing my way to success. So if I could, and listen, if there's any advice I would give myself, is just stay away from the fast life. Work on yourself. Go to the gym. Sit in the steam room. Let it all out. Go for runs. Become more healthy. Eat better. Eat healthy. So those things are important.
Mr. Fantastic, thank you for an epic conversation, and thanks for just being so present. And you say it's one thing to say that you're a positive person, but I think you really show that positive energy in everything you do. And we haven't really known each other for a long time at all, but it really seeps through. And yeah, I really hope that you can inspire someone through this episode. And yeah, it was just such a cool conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you, Mike, and the team for having me on board. And if I could leave you guys with anything, life is an amazing gift. It is a gift. You know what they say? The past is history, the future is a mystery, and the present is a gift. That's why it's called a gift. So just be present and, enjoy it. Just love life. Love everything about life. I mean, when last did you touch a blade of grass and say, oh, this is so amazing? So just find joy in everything. Thank you.